Welcome to the Habitat Workshop. I'm Jody Thompson, and I've got a couple of tips for those of you who are wanting to install native wildflowers from seed. But let me start with a couple of questions first. Have you ever thrown seed out in your yard into a planting bed or a landscape bed and nothing happened, or maybe a little bit happened but then the weeds took over and it just turned into a big mess? Well, probably at least once or twice every month I talk to someone who's experienced that exact situation. And really, the key here is this: weed control, weed control, weed control. Weeds do a number of things, but in this context, they do two main things. One, weeds create a barrier between seed and soil, and seed to soil contact is essential for those native seeds to be able to germinate. And two, what weeds do is they smother young plants by creating too much shade. And very few plants anywhere can survive in deep shade, but you may, in a yard situation, a landscape, or other situations, you may think, well, it's nice and bright and sunny and those weeds are not that tall. If you look behind me, the weeds are really not that tall, but what we have here is a thick, dense barrier that essentially acts like a carpet. This situation is actually a strip that we sprayed and prepped for wildflower installation, but we let this area grow up to show how aggressive the weeds are. Initially, this strip was dominated by fescue and white clover, and we sprayed it once with an herbicide, but we sprayed this in June, and then since then you'll see that it has grown up in weeds and you can't tell that it was even sprayed to begin with. And this is really typical. In this situation, we had other weeds in the soil that were being suppressed by weeds. So at any given point in time, you have weed seeds in the soil that are ready to emerge as soon as it gets enough sunlight and as soon as soil temperatures become warm enough. Now let's compare the area we just looked at with a different site that has gotten adequate weed control. So it's August now, and both these areas received their first spray in June. So this particular strip, this landscape strip that's going to become wildflowers eventually, it got one spray, and then several weeks later it got a second spray. But in between those two sprays, we had a lot of new weeds grow up. So the mistake that's often made is it's sprayed once or other types of weed control are done and it looks clean, meaning weed-free early on, but folks don't account for the weeds that are going to start. So it started out as being dominated with fescue and white clover. It was sprayed, and then it became dominated with crabgrass and yellow nutsedge. And those crabgrass and yellow nutsedge plants, they came up from seeds that were already in the soil that were being suppressed by the other weeds. Now, you don't have to use herbicide. You have different options for small sites like this. You can smother the site for a year or two with non-transparent material. Probably the fastest way to prep a site that's weed-free, but the most expensive, is to essentially build a new landscape bed, which is essentially just bringing in several inches of soil and covering the site. But in this situation, we used herbicide, and we want to really demonstrate the aggressiveness of the weeds. So I hope you like this video. I hope you find it useful. We're producing this video and future videos to come to give you tools that you can immediately put to work in your own habitat situations, whether it's native landscape you want to transform or develop, or your farms, or your woodlands. So be on the lookout for more videos that actually show you the processes and the techniques that we as professionals use to have good habitat. And anyway, so give it a thumbs up if you like it, subscribe, knowing that more videos are coming, and just remember that great habitat can be anywhere, and have a great day.